Good evening. My name is Walter Byron. I'm the Vice Chair of the Planning Board, and this is the March 21st, 2017 Planning Board meeting. Please be aware that the meeting is being audio and videotaped for consumption at home. Our first order of business here is 113 Union Street. Request for continuance to next meeting. Anything beside that you want to add to that, Ray, before you?
I have nothing to add at this point. I know that the owner is still looking at options to a ground-mounted solar system, but I really have nothing else other than that. I would recommend continuing it.
Fine. Can I have a motion to continue?
What's our next time open, next meeting?
Yeah.
Good question. I think it's April 14th.
11th, I think.
It's 11th?
April 11th will be the second Tuesday.
Okay.
What time is available?
There's no agenda that I can see at this
So you can do it
point,
7 o'clock.
All right, motion to continue the public hearing for 113 Union Street till April 11th at 7 o'clock p.m.
For your second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have a few minutes before we can talk about Norway Farms, so let's see what else we can
There's always minutes.
cover. Yeah, we can do minutes, sure. You want to propose a motion to accept these
Yeah,
minutes?
I don't even have, are they,
This is for the January meeting.
yeah, I know, or February meeting,
Excuse me.
right?
I think they are February's.
Yeah, they're February, I just don't, they're not in our packet, right? I
It
didn't.
says January.
Oh, they are?
I think they
Oh,
are.
never mind, sorry,
It says
sorry.
January, but
Yeah,
it's
that's what's
February.
confusing me, yeah,
Got
okay.
it. Yeah, okay,
two.
so that's wrong.
Anybody need one?
Yeah, is there any questions or anything people want to add, or do people need to look at it?
Did she circulate these to us via email,
She
do you
did,
know?
and then you actually made a couple
Yeah, that's what I
changes.
thought, yeah.
So I'm not sure if this includes your changes or not. I suppose you can tell offhand.
Well, I didn't bring my
Yeah.
markup. I actually had one, as I remember.
Is it the 2/7 meeting minutes?
Hmm? Yeah, 2/7.
So.
Yeah, it has my change in
One
here.
thought
It
on
does?
part 2
Okay.
in red.
So everybody else is all set then?
Board discussed. Yep.
So motion to accept the meeting minutes from February 7th, 2017?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Okay, takes care of that one. Another 6 or 7 minutes here. Want to do the Oak Knoll bond, Ray?
Sure, we can do that.
All right. It's in our package here somewhere, right?
Establish the bond for.
Is it not paved yet?
It is paved, but that was an older picture. Some of that's been knocked away.
It's at the bottom of your
It's
pile.
yeah, I was gonna say, I think
The bottom of your
it's-
pile.
They're still there? This thing, top here is there. And this is the abutter over here.
Correct.
You want to go through the Bob McGee proposal here?
Sure. We have the owner here also. I'll go speak with him. If I can find that. It's on the very bottom,
I believe it is, yeah,
Okay.
taking minutes, probably like-
just before it. All right. So, The DPW director has done inspections throughout the construction of this project. The applicant has asked for to set a bond, to establish a bond, and Mr. McGee has graciously put together a cost to complete that totals $886.
64.
I got 106.
I got 106 in mine, yeah.
I believe the 106 refers to, oh, maybe I'm wrong, I read this wrong.
Yeah, that's the cost estimate in the next page.
Problem is, on all these things, we had this the last time, right? There's no street indications, whether this is the whole street, a part of the street, or whatever. So basically, I'm assuming it's, how long is the street, 500 feet or something?
Yeah.
So I'm
Todd,
assuming
how
this
long
is-
the street?
So I'm assuming this is the whole street then, correct?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make, but two numbers here don't, they're off like 40,000.
I don't know what the second sheet is then. I was assuming when I looked at this that the second sheet was the updated version. If you want to grab the microphone and,
I have it right here.
beautiful.
The second sheet it was my cost estimate
Okay,
for Bob, it is. He wanted a copy of what
okay,
mine first.
thank you.
That's where the 64 comes from, okay, yep. Are you and Bob in agreement now?
Yes, with his, yes. He has the contingency in a few things that I forgot.
Yep, yep, yep.
Todd, how were you dealing with the rock at the beginning of the subdivision? You had two nodules of ledge that have been there.
It's gonna be drilled and hydraulic split.
Okay.
We have to create some area to put the fill. And that's why we're trying to get the lots, at least two of the lots released.
Okay.
So we can use that material. I don't wanna just start creating.
How are you dealing with that? I don't know how the neighbor feels about that nodule, but they got kids next door. If, somebody falls off that thing, I know there's not a huge chance of that happening, but there is a chance of that happening. Is there something that you're doing to sort of keep people from getting on there and
Well,
themselves into trouble?
the plan was, as soon as we can get a lot released, we're gonna drill and split the rock and move it right out of there.
How high is that cliff?
10 feet? 15 feet?
Yeah, probably 10, 12 feet.
Okay.
10 feet?
Yeah, 10, 15 feet.
10 or 15 is a big difference.
It's
Yeah, it's 10 or 12 feet.
12 feet?
But it's not a straight face, it's boulders.
Now, is the abutter right beside, does her side yard abut this ledge?
Yes.
Yes.
And be at the bottom of the ledge is what? More ledge crushed up?
At this point, what do you have now?
Well, it's pretty much gravel on the bottom side, and it goes to the edge of that's the road, the pavement. The top edge is buffered by some trees in the woods. Between
Have you
between
talked with the
rock and
neighbors?
house.
Not recently, no. The neighbor was very cordial. You guys had a very good
Yeah,
relationship,
he's been very
from what I
happy with everything,
understand.
yes.
He's not had a problem with it. I guess he's kept his children away from it all this time, but
So when is it gonna be taken down, Todd?
When?
The ledge, yeah, when's it gonna be taken back?
I was hoping to drill and split it,
Right.
bring it right to the lots. That's what I was trying to get the lot lease for, so we can finish the road. So you have quite a bit of fill there, that the lots need the fill.
Well, fill it with the ledge?
What's that?
You're gonna fill it with the ledge? That you're-
Yeah,
back
I mean,
off?
there's not a lot of the rock at the entrance, it's just a matter of shaping it. The rest of the fill is a Lumion gravel fill.
I know in the past, what we've suggested is some type of temporary fencing. Does that work for you?
Sure, I can put some fencing up there, sure.
God forbid if that, one of those kids was near there, because kids like hills, cliffs, and falls off, there's a huge liability issue, obviously, for everybody. Can you get some type, it doesn't have to be pinned in, but just some type of temporary chain link or something that,
Yes, sure, absolutely.
enough so that if the kids are over near there, they're gonna be away from the high area? If you, and it's only gonna be short-term, correct?
Yes,
I know those, most of the temporary fence companies require, I think, what, a minimum of like 60 days or something to rent you the temporary fence, or, I think so, but maybe if you could just do that until you blast it, it'd make me feel better anyway,
okay,
especially if it's 15 feet high.
okay.
It's fine with me.
Okay?
Before we entertain a motion on this bond, anything else you'd like to add?
I was told that it was possible if town held one of the lots, that we could reduce the bond or eliminate the bond. Is that possible?
What was that again?
That if you held one of the lots?
We don't hold lots.
Never heard of that.
Never heard of it.
No, I don't think so.
Never heard of it. From our way, you get three types of bond. You get a tri-party agreement, you get a cash bond, you get a surety bond, that's it. Who told you that? Just curious.
I don't know, someone in the office, someone in the planning board office, yeah, I forget who I was talking to.
Really? Important to know, because that person really should be corrected.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not in the regs at all. Interesting. Maybe you can find out.
I will ask.
Inquisition.
Investigate.
Won't take long.
All right, can I have a motion to accept this bond?
I'll sit with Bob McGee,
Yes.
numbers. All right, I will, do we have a lot release form here too? Are we releasing lots tonight, or what?
No, we're gonna set the bond, and then they'll come back with the bond, then we'll release the lots.
Okay, super. I will second this with amendment that before the lots release, we get that temporary fencing in place. And that's got plenty of time to do that, I guess, right?
Sure.
Okay. So I second with that amendment. I think we need a re-second on that.
Yeah, I do, too. You,
I can second.
yeah?
For Rich.
Second, all right. Any discussion before we vote?
Established a bond of 103...
106,938.
6, yeah, thank you.
Any additional discussion before we vote?
And this covers the whole length of Old Cat Path. Old Cart Path,
Cart path,
correct?
yeah.
Okay.
Cat bath,
Complete,
by the way.
yeah, complete length. All right.
Made the motion.
Jen did. John second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is an affirmative vote.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bob should know that, right, on these things that we should have the street stations from 00 to whatever on these things. They should be, because down the road, this bond may be released in 4 or 5 years or impartial, and then it gets kind of confusing. Not as big with a cul-de-sac, but
Make a note of it, I'll talk to Bob.
Okay, so the next item is Norway Farms continuation of the public hearing.
you got a big plan, Rick? Put up here? Is it big enough for my bad eyes?
I don't know, how are your eyes?
Bad. Yeah, this'll work, Rick. This'll work.
You have one? I have another. Here, if you'd like, and then I have some 11 by 17.
Yeah, this is all right for me. Leave it, that's fine. This dated what? Dated March 15th, right, same as the one I got here, okay.
Same as the 160?
We haven't made any changes since then.
Jen, you can share this if you want.
I'm speeding up. I want
Then again, maybe not.
Oh, did you have a big old speed bump? I don't know, I guess I can kind of make this
All right,
now.
that's
Yeah, you can, no, you can.
All right.
Thank you, though.
Yep.
It's going up by 2. I wanted like a 50-foot flat.
Rick, do you have an extra plan?
This cul-de-sac, this one.
Please.
Childish issues.
My eyes are getting bad, too.
Well, I was thinking, let's we talked about making this a little steep.
Large one.
Getting it flat, hitting the.
I get the small one, thank you.
In the grade, I think it's still be okay. Basically, it's 210 from here to.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
That's up there, we can give you this.
No, it's fine.
That's good too. Yeah, you leave that here too.
John will take all the plans you can get.
Why don't you
They're all the same.
put it upside down so we can't see it? It's not green either.
Greg, just slide that chair back so I can see that. I got it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, good evening, Rick Goodrow with United Consultants, here with Bob and Jean Kane, the owners of the property of the Norway Farms project that's under consideration. At the previous meeting, there were a lot of items that were discussed, review comments that were received from both the town planner, planning board, and the planning board's review consultant, Beta. We've taken those review comments, we've had some meetings with the town planner, some discussions with Mike from Beta, and also with the DPW since the last meeting, and we've made some changes, and we felt it would be wise to come in and talk with the board about the changes that we made to get some feeling before we went into a full redesign. So what I'd like to start with is we've modified the entrance road by relocating it to the south a little bit. We've also been able to then pull the cul-de-sac away from the boundary line of one of the abutters that was concerned with respect to the grading and trees to remain in that area. We've also proposed to shorten the cul-de-sac slightly, which would require a waiver from the minimum length of your cul-de-sac requirement. We could extend it if necessary, but again, we were trying to be sensitive to that neighbor. We also reconfigured some of the lots in such that we had the houses and the septic systems and whatnot reconfigured. Maybe if you could maybe pull down to the top. What we also did is we provided numerous sketches to the town, 4 I believe, and I do have copies of the various sketches. I believe the town planner had distributed those sketches to the various board members, and what we basically seem to have come up with is this sidewalk here would be pulled in such that for this approximately 150 feet, it would be abutting the roadway, thus no grass strip would exist. And by doing that, and by reducing the width of the roadway pavement from 26 feet to 24 feet, we were able to eliminate the need to have both retaining walls. So we felt that that was, a good fit in that area. Obviously, those requirements of a reduced pavement width from 26 foot required to 24, and the sidewalk configuration, again, would require waivers from the board. We wanted to get some input on that. We did do some various layouts of modification to that island, leaving it there. We did provide a sketch of the island and turn roundabout, if you will, I guess, at Union Street, overlaid on this to give the board an idea of the size and geometry of that. But that all being said, it seems that the best scenario is to basically create a through road in both directions. So we've provided you with a dashed line so you'd see how that would be. It's just an extension of this radius, which would then terminate at the straight part of the existing roadway, and the cul-de-sac island would be pulled back with 2 radii installed at each end and a larger radius in the middle, basically bringing that curve right around. So we felt that those are all, positive things to address the concerns of the neighbors in this area with respect to the retaining walls and the island, providing or allowing for that existing cul-de-sac area to remain for parking of emergency vehicles, et cetera, and then creating what appears to have been intended when this was originally laid out, which was a through road to go through. So we felt that that was a good compromise. What we also did was we proposed to super elevate the road, eliminate the crown, create a drainage swale, and Amy, if you could please pull that up. Drainage swales would basically discharge to a bioretention area here. Ultimately, that would connect to that bioretention area there. This bioretention area is in the same general area as the original, but much larger bioretention area. That was reduced in size because we were looking at adding some bioretention areas around the site. There's actually 4 additional ones. So the watershed is such that this area drains towards the roadway. We would capture it through the grading here into a bioretention area here. We would be able to capture the roadway water here and roadway water, as well as the lot areas into these bioretention areas here. We have not done a full design, details, et cetera. We have looked at it more on a macro level,
Yep.
and the numbers seem to work. But we have such a change from what was originally proposed with curbing and stormwater, being captured in catch basins and pipes and sediment forebays, that we felt it would be wise to come in and show everything to the board, have some more discussion with the neighbors, get some marching orders, and go forward. So that is basically a highlight of the changes that have been proposed. As I said, we have had discussions with the town planner and Beta. I'm sure they can make comments to the proposal as well.
A couple of questions. Could you slide that drawing over just a little so we can see the entrance off Medway Street?
You see the cul-de-sac too?
There you go.
Shrink it?
Yeah, we could shrink it or whatever. Roughly how many feet did you move that road there you were talking about?
This road
Yeah,
here,
yeah, the entranceway.
the entrance stayed where it was. We basically took it from here, exaggerated, and turned it up.
Okay, all right.
And then what that did was it pulled this back about
Yep.
25 feet.
Yep.
And then put this
Curve in,
curve and
yeah,
reverse
sure.
curve into it.
All right, now the cul-de-sac, you said you shortened it a little bit?
Yes.
How much?
On top of pulling it about 25 feet, we shortened it about 5 feet.
So the length of it is today is what, on that proposal is what?
I believe it's 245 feet. From the way it's measured from the center line intersection to the end of pavement.
And on the roadway up the hill towards the cul-de-sac, did you change the slope of that?
We did not, but we looked at that. This cul-de-sac basically has a high point right in here, and then it comes
Yep.
down
Yep,
at this area here at about a 3% grade. So basically, our roadway came up and then was at approximately a 3% grade at this location. So it's basically tying in within 1% of what's already existing. And that'll happen from basically here to here.
so it's roughly a flat spot up in that,
It's already going uphill.
oh, I see, okay,
From here to here.
yeah, fair enough, yep,
So we're
yep,
mimicking that, if you will.
yep,
The steeper part begins way back here.
yep. And what's the percent grade?
This was 6, I believe.
Jen, any questions?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I was gonna ask about if was there any effort to do more open drainage, but, it sounds like you tried to incorporate that, or you did incorporate that, which was good. And then just trying to keep as much of the forested buffer as possible, which it sounds like on the very bottom. you
South
were-
side, yeah.
Yeah, south side, you were able to do that.
Or north
But
side,
there's
whatever it is.
there's a good forested buffer around the entire parcel, pretty much, isn't there?
There is.
And that'll be, I guess my point is just, would love to see the clearing and grading limited as much as possible. I know you have to do what you have to do.
In reality, there really won't, we're not proposing any, very minimal grading in the wooded area here. and up here, and then obviously for the road construction, a little bit here, and a little bit, down here, this area is wooded. But, we certainly don't want to be cutting down trees to create lawn areas for yard extensions.
So that's not necessarily in the plans to do that. Okay, that's good.
So, we want to maintain that. One of the comments from Beta was to define the limit of work. We had defined the limit of work for the areas in the vicinity of the wetlands to address the concerns of the conservation agent.
Yep.
And we're going to further identify a limit of work on the final plan set.
Okay, good.
So what's the width of the road?
Pavement width is 24 feet. That's what we're proposing.
Whole road?
Yes,
And what's Crestbrook?
26.
And Crestbrook has one sidewalk or two?
One. Excuse me, two. Crestbrook now has two sidewalks, I'm sorry.
Let me jump in. Is that including or excluding the Cape Cod berm?
Excluding. So from the face of Cape Cod berm, which we'd be proposing here, no berm on this side so that the water would be directed to the swale. You'd have 24 feet of basically flat asphalt travelway.
Thank you.
So you're gonna have two different roads with merging. And how are you gonna end that sidewalk on Crestbrook? Where does it end now?
So right now, the sidewalk comes up Crestbrook. You can see it here, and then travels around, and then comes back down and terminates. What we're proposing is to make a connection here, come all the way around to our site, and then make a connection here.
Now, what's that configuration, the new configuration of the cul-de-sac gonna look like? I can't tell by your sketches. Could you just, you're changing it from a circle, correct?
Yes.
Is the path of the roadway going right through the middle of the cul-de-sac now? Is that right here?
If I may, that's a sketch we had done. So that darker area would be the proposed curb, so it's basically gonna remain here. New curbing here. These dashed lines reflect, well, the center line, and then a line 12 feet in parallel to that. So a vehicle on this side of the roadway would travel between the two dashed lines, and a vehicle on that side of the roadway would travel there. So the transition would be such that it would occur in that area from 26 to 24. And, we could look at various things for that bulb there, but.
Yeah.
I think it works.
And I have more of those
He's gonna look
sketches if other
spectacular,
board members
but-
would like to see them.
Yeah, Rick, can you grab me
Yeah,
one?
I was having trouble visualizing it. So what happens to the top part?
It's
Is
left
that was
there.
that's just left there as
Yeah.
well? That
Is this all,
pavement?
That's left there, yeah.
Okay. But not for travel?
so this pavement up the top is gonna be left there but not used?
That would be the area for emergency vehicles.
What do you mean?
We
So
talked
you're gonna have the
last-
road going right here,
Correct,
and you get this, but this is all pavement.
that's correct.
It's gonna stay.
I
There's
don't
still
know.
two driveways coming into that area.
Yeah, I know it, that's what sort of,
It's different.
it's very
Yeah.
different, I think it looks shitty myself, but, oops. This is supposed to be uniform, the only thing I disagree with, well, I'm kidding. It's supposed to be like harmonious, right? So basically now, the harmony seems to be gone because we've got a 26-foot road going into a 24-foot road. We got one place with a sidewalk with two sidewalks on the other, and then you're gonna have this huge paved area here up at the top. That's a big area. That's a real big area for pavement. I don't know, just personally, maybe the neighbors could, I don't like the look of that at all. I think it's a lot of pavement. How long is it, how long is it at the longest length? Like 35 feet up at the top there?
What, up in this area
Yeah, it's
here?
gonna be like 35 feet by what, 20 feet deep?
This
Yeah,
width
right
here?
up in there, yeah. I mean, that's a big paved area for nothing.
Just
My recollection was that the neighbors were concerned
This is
about
gonna be the two,
having
is
parking there now, and that they would lose their parking. So
Yeah.
this was one solution to that, that issue of maintaining the parking.
But I mean, how many driveways are going on to that big half of the cul-de-sac?
One driveway here and a second driveway here.
I mean, that's like, I know it's hard to see it on paper and visualize, but that's a lot of pavement.
Yeah. The other thing that
Well,
was
it's not
important, I took from the conversation at the last meeting, was that the cul-de-sac, the island of the cul-de-sac was carefully landscaped and maintained by the neighbors, and they'd like to keep that. They don't want to lose that. So this was another way to...
But they're losing half of it.
They'll lose half of it, but keep some of it anyway.
Maybe the neighbors should wait. It's just only my
Yeah,
personal
definitely.
opinion, but maybe they can have a say if they understand what it looks like. What's deceiving is when you have something on paper, sometimes you can't understand the enormity of how much asphalt is going to be there.
Well, it's not like we're creating it new, John. It exists.
Yeah, so there
What you're
wouldn't be
doing is
any,
you're taking the landscape area in the center and you're cutting it in half.
That's true, that's true. And the reason we're doing that is to respond to the neighbor's concern that there was not enough room if we limited all of that above where Rick proposes the curb to be, and just get rid of that.
Right.
There's not enough room for emergency vehicles, and I have a handicapped son who uses them from
Well,
time to time.
don't forget, right now, the status is emergency vehicles have one way in. So the reason we have a 500-foot cul-de-sac or less mainly is because of the old tree crosses the road and there's they can't get there.
Yep,
And you're gonna have a sinkhole, they can't get there. So right now, we have two egresses, which to me is a good thing.
I think so too.
But the cul-de-sac where it was is a traffic mitigating thing. It slows traffic down. Right now, there's no slowing down of that traffic. That's why, I don't know, again, maybe it's just me, but I like the idea of the traffic slowing there, having this a calming and having it go around, so you're slowing down, not rather than going right through it around. There's nothing to stop traffic there. And the only other thing, of course, the grade of this road is, I mean, it's going up a straight 2 feet. I thought that we'd level off up at that cul-de-sac and at least have a clear sight direction for the last 50 feet or so that I mentioned last time. But right now, this has got a regular elevation change all the way up, and all the way up to the other side of the cul-de-sac.
Correct.
I wanted to have a flatter area, well, I wanted a different,
so were you thinking, John, more, because I remember Ray last meeting up there drawing that sort of, his beautiful eye shape.
It wasn't beautiful, let's not lie.
Beautiful. But it was sort of that eye shape, so you're changing not the dimension, you're changing the shape a little bit, but not getting rid of, I didn't think,
Right.
any of the vegetation in the middle, and just making it calmer.
oh no, you're getting rid of half the vegetation.
No, with the design that he proposed
Oh, no,
last
with
week.
this
No,
one.
I'm talking about, I
don't
agree
remember.
with you on this
I don't
one.
remember what he said.
So there's not a way to like shift, add more vegetation over here, and
Look
then,
at sketch 2 of that package. I put them in reverse order because we seem to have ended with 4 in our discussions with Ray.
Do we have that
oh,
pack in
look
our?
at that.
Sketch
Do we have that
2,
back here in this?
sketch 2, that's 3, which is the overlay of Union Street.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
one
yeah.
below that is more
Okay.
of the concept Ray had sketched,
Okay.
and we had kind of followed. So we put that in second, then we received some comments back to look at what ended up as sketch 4, so we'd have some various alternatives to discuss. So that sketch 2 would make the island slightly smaller,
Let me see.
provide for, still traffic calming, but improve the flow through the area, if you will.
Sketch 2 requires them to go around the island.
Correct.
Yeah, all of them do except for 4, right?
Or would be that they would not have to go around the
This is
island.
the only one
Yeah.
that would go like
You
that.
basically have a 2-lane through road with a parking area to the southwest of the island.
Yeah.
You know, So we did look at various options, and again, we were hoping to have some discussion.
What's wrong with sketch 3?
Sketch 3? Sketch 3 is basically the overlay of the geometry of Union Street in the very dark color to the existing cul-de-sac.
Just for
So you can
comparison
get a feel
purposes, yeah.
for,
Yeah, okay.
how that would work, how the traffic calming would work by actually, so going through the roundabout at Union Street.
That would be if you just left it alone. It's a
Yeah.
comparison. It shows you how big that cul-de-sac actually is.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I always like the idea of mitigating the speed of the traffic by having them slow down when they can see and go around the cul-de-sac slowly. and leaving way more landscape. I mean, I don't know if the folks that are gonna be there realize that that's a lot of pavement. When it's paved, you're gonna see it's a real lot of pavement, that's all I can say. To me, a kid, right through, nonstop. I don't think that's not what I was, anyway, had in mind last time. I thought that the island was a good factor just for safety.
Well, it looks like he has other options in here where it would preserve the entire thing, well, and a couple of them.
One other question, Rick, I'm sorry, if I could just ask one off there.
Sure.
Describe can you get these bioretention areas all along the roadway? So what do they look like? How deep is the grade down, and they're grassed, I'm assuming, right?
They're approximately 2 feet in depth.
And what's the slope of them going down to that?
It would be a 3-to-1 slope. You know, I mean, we could certainly flatten them out to a 4-to-1 or 5-to-1
Are
slope.
they gonna be landscaped?
And they would be vegetated, there would be various plantings, such that we had proposed originally there. Basically, we'd want to have some trees there, you know, some shrubs, and make them into landscape features as opposed to, you know, a typical detention basin.
And how do you construct the side of the road that has just the pavement edge with no berm to stop that from just
In the area-
chipping off and just, becoming all a rough, uneven edge?
There are various things we could do. What we were proposing in these areas is to put a pea-stone diaphragm, which would allow the water to go into the diaphragm
Right. No, I'm talking about the side of the roadway that's not gonna have a berm.
at the side of the road.
So
It
you're
would be
gonna
a
have just a
pea-stone,
pavement end and a butt grass.
and then there would be a pea-stone diaphragm, which would be approximately 8 inches wide and 12 inches deep. So the water would flow into that, not want to go back under the road, and that would help protect the edging of the pavement.
Have you seen this in use anyplace?
Yes, I mean, we've actually looked at the Norfolk landing site. We've had that design utilized in Franklin.
Is the water on this side where there's no curbing, is the elevation pitching away from the street?
The elevation of the road would be such that it would be cross-pitched in this direction, basically directing the water from the curb line here into these.
I think what John's asking is the,
My point is, if you've got no curbing on one side and the sloping is coming down to that pavement, what you're gonna have is the water infiltrating over time the pavement and having heaves.
From the roadway?
Yeah.
Well, that would be one of the benefits of the pea-stone diaphragm, would be to get the water into the diaphragm and then out of the diaphragm. So the diaphragm could be such that the stone would have a slight pitch to it, so the inlet side near where the pavement is would be higher to the outlet side slightly.
Ferguson? Because the problem, once the plows come, with the pea stone on the side.
we curbed that whole thing, I thought.
Right here, look. Well, that's my question. Can
We
we,
Cape Cod berm, we used the
can we do the
berm.
slow impact and still have curbing? I mean, the plow goes around once, and you've got this pea stone border around the perimeter of the street. The plow digs that up, and your protection is now all gone.
Yeah, I mean, we could use curbing on that side to channelize the flow and then just do, an area where the water would run off from the gutter with, stone, a larger stone. I mean, we'd have to analyze what the flows
Because
would be.
you gotta think down the road, so after this is existence, the town takes it, and we have plowing, we have activity. That's what gravel driveway is the same issue. They're normally redone periodically because after the plows come and everything else, the gravel is just not the same as it was before. So you see this happening in the street over a couple of years, the town accepts it. It's a constant maintenance program. And we did that with curbing on Frederickson. So we just have little sections where the water can run out.
Yes.
So the whole side isn't lacking of curb.
It's all Cape Cod berm, and then they have cutouts here and there. What Rick is suggesting is that, and this is what Bob wants to do, is to avoid that Cape Cod curb, because that gets torn up by the plow also, it gets damaged over.
Not the monolithic curb.
Yeah, the plow will tear that up.
Yeah, it tore up in my yard.
The
right
monolithic.
I mean, I'm not, when I say tear up, it's gouging it out, it's
Yeah.
causing damage to it, such that, over time, you will have patches that have to be done to even the monolithic. And
No,
so,
I'm just, I'm confused.
Now we
because
get another issue.
He's been preaching monolithic berms and getting rid of slope granite and that, and now you're telling me the monolithic berms, the monolithic berms.
everything has problems.
But they only have a 1.5 inch profile at the end.
I think it's more like 3.
I don't
The
think so.
backside?
No, the front side.
Front side, it's a small lip.
Right, exactly, so the plow can go over that in theory.
Right.
Hit it.
Yeah, in theory, but, you know, if it's up like this and the plow comes and the edge of the plow hits that lifted section, it's gonna gouge it out.
But what's wrong with Frederickson where he has monolithic berm in Frederickson?
Yeah, there's just a short amount of road there.
Right,
This
he
is a
has-
lot longer amount of
He
road.
has outlet areas where the water can run down and go in there without having the whole side not curving.
That's right. I mean, you could do that, you
don't
could
think
definitely do
You
that.
don't think that works better long-term to?
I think it's 6 of one, 1/2 dozen to the other. It's just, you know, pick your poison. There's always give and take when it comes to this kind of stuff.
So you said does Norfolk Landing they don't have curb? It's just the,
They have a swale that runs down the entire side of the right-hand side of the roadway as you come in.
right, no curb.
There was no curbing there, but the road's not finished. If I remember correctly, it's been a few weeks since we took a ride out there, but I believe the left-hand side as you go in is all berm. And the right-hand side is just open. There's certainly a swale that begins right at the entrance. There's a driveway cut with a pipe going under it and an elevated, driveway prepared in that area. And I think there was a second one kind of down near the cul-de-sac, and then
Norfolk Landing.
Because I thought the whole point of some of these side of the road swales is that they're engineered to be able
So they
to
gotta-
not have a curb and to be able to withstand
There's no stone.
plowing and
So they can
everything.
go with any of. Okay.
well, if there's no
No.
curb, then there's really no issue with the plowing, because the plow's not gonna hit
Right.
the curb. The issue is, as John has mentioned, the issue with a lot of these roads that do not have curbing is the water can get under and create an issue at the edge.
Norfolk
That's what you-
Landing does not have any pea stone strip. It has one side that has no curbing.
Correct.
And I think the salvation on that side is the slope going down looks like about a 3-to-1 slope into the swale, so the water doesn't have a chance to go back up.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what this is gonna be like?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I mean, these are a couple feet deep. Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't understand. You know,
Maybe it's just me.
this is definitely gonna be captured into the bottom of those
There's no
systems.
chance for infiltration going back into the pavement.
No. No, I mean, we're certainly gonna look at what the elevation of all of those, areas would be when we look at the various storms, but, I mean, your point's well taken, and we'll look at a couple different scenarios with respect to protecting the edge of the roadway.
Would haunching the edge of the roadway make a difference? So do a 2.5-inch haunch so that any water that does try to make it under, now it's got another 2 inches of pavement, for let's say 6 inches wide at the edge of the pavement.
So making
So you drop the pavement down for that.
making it wider right on the edge?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that would help.
Thicker.
The water's gonna get under there, it's gonna wanna get under.
Understood,
But
yeah.
it's much thicker, it's more durable, sure.
Correct. That helps you with some of the strength along over time.
Rick, how would you anticipate providing pre-treatment for the basins? Because the filter strip, one of the nice things about it is that it provides pre-treatment.
Right.
Absent that, direct flow to a bioretention basin without any pre-treatment,
Well,
it's going to short circuit the life of the bioretention basin.
sure. If we went with a curbing and then had specific points where the water would discharge from the curved roadway, we would certainly look at something like a sediment forebay at those areas in lieu of the stone, the pea stone diaphragm. And you're right, I mean, that's one of the benefits, is the pea stone diaphragm provides treatment.
I think another consideration should be the slopes that we're working with here, particularly on the each end of it where we're at 6%. Edge of road treatment, filter strips, swales can be problematic from a maintenance standpoint on slopes that steep. It might be advisable not to take a one-size-fits-all approach, but consider doing different approaches in different locations, filter strips being more appropriate in level areas and edge treatment, berm treatment on the straightaways where they'd be less likely to get clipped by a plow trying to take a turn. If he's going down a straightaway, then the berm is going to work well to a paved waterway at one location that would feed into a sediment forebay. So my advice at this point, looking at this as a schematic plan, would be that the overall approach is good. Bioretention basins and decentralizing the stormwater management is good to a degree. I think sometimes we can spread things out too much to the point where it becomes unwieldy for the people maintaining it in the long term. I see 6 proposed bioretention basins on a subdivision that could probably achieve the level of treatment required with maybe half that number.
Which is the next question, right?
And I would say that, as I mentioned, the particular configuration of the roadway and pre-treatment should be tailored to the different areas of the subdivision. And I have installed pea-stone diaphragms on roads, high-traffic, high-volume roads, and not ended up with a very happy DPW director.
That's why I'm surprised he's advocating it, right?
Well, that was a different road. I'm not saying that I wouldn't recommend them or support them here in certain locations. I wouldn't be as inclined to put them on, as I said, straightaway hills. Might prefer to see berm with forebays and paved waterways. But in the flatter areas where we've got 2 bioretention basins down in the belly, that would be probably an ideal location to do some sort of a filter strip. So I guess what I'm saying, Rick, is we can work through that as the design process advances, but the overall approach, I think, is sound for the stormwater management.
And with the road going straight through with a continuous curve, right? We just had this at the problem at Frederickson, where we had 2 different width roadways merging into one, which is one of the reasons that we had a dead-end cul-de-sac rebutting each other. So how can we go advocate a one continuous roadway with 2 foot, with a 2-foot difference in the width of the road continuously? Where's the 2-foot break gonna be?
It would basically occur from here to here.
Yeah, so you've got angled roads going up. I mean, you know, the reason we have this stub in there is to make the thing look uniform, like it was always there.
Yeah, you know, I mean, this is considerable distance that would be occurring in. But again, if the board's preference is to do 26 feet of pavement, we can do it. You know,
Well, personally, I would just like to see it mirror the existing road there, so they look the same.
But wouldn't it, like you said, because you have that distance to gradually sort of expand it, would you really be able to notice the 2 feet over that distance? Is that what you're saying? Because of that distance, you can sort of gradually enlarge it to sort of look like it's
Well,
fitting in a little bit better.
again, it's gonna depend on how the cul-de-sac configuration ends up. Under this configuration, you would have 26 feet of pavement. You would have much more pavement here if that was to remain. And then you basically would transition into 24 feet of pavement back here. This bulb is 100 foot, 120 feet across, 60 foot, I believe it's a 60-foot radius. You know, so you're talking about losing basically 1 foot on each side over 120 to 150 feet through something that has this and this. I don't think it would be noticeable. Now, if we were to eliminate all this pavement and the island and just make this a straight-through road, yeah, then it would be a little different.
Rick, if you were going to go back to 26 feet and go back up to the cul-de-sac there, where would you put the extra 2 feet?
Basically 1 foot on each side.
1 foot on each side.
We have the road, pavement is centered within the right-of-way.
Okay. What would that do to the retaining wall question?
It would basically push out a foot for the grading. On this side, it wouldn't be as much of an issue. This side, it'd be very tight.
But still could be done.
Yeah, you know, right here would be very tight. We might need a small wall, very small, you know, wall of maybe 20 or 30 feet long and 1 foot in height. You know, by doing it. But
I don't know, is it, old, fieldstone walls used to be an enhancement to a street roadway. Has that changed? Folks don't like fieldstone walls?
Bill Riley, 7 Crestbrook. If I can just step up here, I'll tell you where I'm talking about here. I don't think we're opposed to fieldstone walls, but
Okay.
it's the, as I stated last time, it's the connection itself that I'm concerned about. And now, Ray, you got up here last time and did your beautiful drawing, and I'm not going to be too critical, even though I am an art teacher. Now, Rick's done a lot of drawing up here that's a lot more time-consuming, right? I think I agree with you, John. This seems like you're tasked with something that's just very difficult to find a solution to make this connection. And this goes back to what I was saying last time. This road is designed to go straight in and have that circle, as we've had all this time. And this seems like it's being forced into this circle. And as a town that has our rotaries in the center, our roundabouts, and you've stated that this is the exact same size as the ones in the center?
slightly smaller.
Or roughly. When you lay it on there, it's pretty much the same. So this idea of cutting into the center there, yeah, you're left with all kinds of pavement. That's not going to change. I see that as confusion for someone that's driving in either direction. Do you go around the circle? Do you go through? This is wider, so someone coming out, do they just shoot right straight through, or do they, if they've been driving around town, they're kind of inclined to go around these circles? That's what my impression would be. Now, we did state that, personally, the circle is helpful to us, as we have many people that visit on a daily basis for medical reasons. And, we've been kind of trained not to have cars park in the driveway in case we ever have to make that 911 call, which unfortunately we've had to make in the past. So people use that circle, and the neighborhood knows it. They see the cars there all the time. So the idea of eliminating that and pulling the land out to meet this circle is really goes against one of the reasons why we moved here in the first place. So the idea of keeping it as a circle like this with the center, I know we talked about there are other roundabouts in town. Ray, I think you had mentioned the Fox Run neighborhood, or someone on the board mentioned the Fox Run circles. And the difference there is that none of those were designed to have driveways connecting into the circle. I mean, if it's planned, you'd never plan to have driveways connecting into a roundabout. And we have basically 3 of them, if you count the cars, which is right on the cusp here, but certainly mine and our neighbors to the left of us, we go right into the circle. I don't think anyone would ever design a roadway with driveways going into a roundabout, other than in a cul-de-sac setting. So bringing traffic flow in here, I think, is more dangerous than the benefit to connecting to the second egress to it. Which brings up another point. I know we talked about the other access, which the board had said we don't have because of the land release from Borelli in the neighborhood behind. I guess, is that what this is here?
Yes.
Is that what that other
No, it's
easement?
Canterbury, yeah.
To the right.
Yeah, but is that where the proposed easement was? Or it's there, okay. All right. The thing about this is that this looks like it was designed that way. You have a perpendicular road heading into another road. I mean, that makes sense to me. Now, I realize that the issue is with the land. I guess I would say now is this development's being held up in part because of another development not getting their road accepted. And I'm not sure what extent it is that needs to be completed, but is there any way that some pressure could be put on Mr. Borelli?
Well, independent of that issue, I've walked that right-of-way there and stood at the top of that hill, and I agree with the fire chief that cutting a road through there is going to be too steep for his vehicles to get up and down, particularly in bad weather. So I think that's off the table, personally.
Has there been any engineering done to,
You'd have to start back right at the street there and
Right.
start your cut. And if you wanted a flat spot before you came into that street and a flat spot at the bottom, would just increase the slope in the middle.
But that's like a 50-foot grade change or something.
Yeah,
That probably
it's
could
too
never
steep,
comply with anything.
too steep.
how is
I'm
it
not sure why they
that,
would do that.
just out of curiosity, how is it that these plans get, I guess, approved at some point for having an easement if it's known that it's not going to be a useful one?
Good question.
Yeah, I mean,
Don't know.
because I don't see this as a useful one either, but for different reasons.
Rob, do you know why that easement was put there way back when Canterbury was done?
No, sir, I don't.
You just put it there?
But, you know, when their road was put in, nobody took a look at what was down gradient, and I got flooded out multiple times. And Greg came down, and Mr. Burrell ended up buying a lot of
Not to be
material.
picky, but you really should use the mic for people at home.
Okay. I'm all set on that comment.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'll just, so, just to recap that, I'm just concerned about this for safety purposes. You can see the difficulty Rick's having trying to make it work. It is an odd, you can't find another comparison in town that's like this. And I had mentioned about the length of the Frederickson Road, I got the reasons for why that wasn't connected. This is nowhere near as long, and so I guess I'm just asking, is there any way that the board could look at, instead of connecting it, making this another cul-de-sac? I know it's not ideal, but that was the case with Frederickson too, for different reasons, but.
Well, I think the driveway's off the roundabout, it's a valid comment, and it so it makes you want to go to, not necessarily two cul-de-sacs, but it makes you, the roadway that you created with the one continuous curve. So in theory, how that would be conventional is to take out all that asphalt and increase the driveways and
Yep.
make it all grass.
Yep.
So it looks like one regular long curved roadway, but you lose the traffic mitigation factor by having a cul-de-sac, but you don't have the safety factor of having a driveway, which
Yep.
go off into a roundabout.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, John. That would be my preferred solution if we decide to abandon the.
My problem is that we made our move to this place because of this parking situation.
Well, true, and
Now
we've
we'd be
also.
parking on a very sharp curve, which would be really dangerous.
I understand, but as you can see, the engineers made several attempts to figure out some compromises here. And whichever one we end up with, whether it's one of these or the one we just discussed or some other option, it's going to be a compromise. It really is. There's no way about that.
That's why we have such a good engineer doing the project. I think that you definitely have to have a place for parking so that it's not blocking your driveway for vehicles. I think that's essential. I think no matter what the plan does, the safety of the residents there is probably first. So no matter what plan you come up with, you have to have some facility, and that's why I'm sure you did the parking on that side, which, you know, a good start. It just doesn't look as good as it could be. But I do think we have to give Mr. Riley a couple of spots to park so they don't cover his driveway.
I mean, I realize this is a unique situation, and.
But that's fine.
I mean, if it weren't that
Well,
case, I would not be asking.
I understand. One thought,
You know,
John,
because
is if we were
these are
to
like his parking spots,
just
and then
make
this
the
is
road continuous, is where the
two
top
share
half of that island is.
for everything that they need.
If we took all that, took the roundabout out, but left an area not exactly shaped that way, but in that area of the top half of that island, is a place to pull off the road and park
Exactly.
for 2 or 3 vehicles,
So less pavement, Walter, more grass, but the facility to put 2 cars out there.
or 3, or whatever the number, yeah.
So, are you suggesting that we carry this straight across and then
Get rid of that,
get rid of that? So that would be
make it a continuous 26-foot street.
26 feet, and then take something of that shape maybe, and bump it out there?
Well, I'm not exactly sure what shape it is, but the idea is to provide parking for 2 or 3
Yeah, I'd
vehicles.
be reluctant to have head-in parking backing out onto the.
Agreed, this would be
You know,
parallel parking.
Yeah, I'd like to see, something more gentle like that, but in reverse.
You gotta worry about bringing the driveways out to the street at the same time.
So you're saying the upper half of that island that were to remain, that could be extended up a little bit more? That could be expanded up there?
No,
and
the,
still give enough space?
the island's going. The island is going, under this scheme, the island is going. and
Not
the-
completely.
Yes, physically, it's just getting out of there.
Completely?
Absolutely. And what you've got is a certain number of square feet, so you'll turn into a parking place.
Rick, you can draw on that
I
board
thought
if
it
you'd
was
like.
still keeping.
Rick.
No. Well,
trying to do
there's a
Jennifer.
zillion
There's a
options,
marker
but in
right
this one, no,
Can I just ask another question since we're
certainly.
talking about this? Looking at the drawing here, this has concerned me right from the beginning. Any way that this connects into the circle, I mean, our driveway is right at that point. Are there any kind of regulations to where the edge of the road and a driveway
We
can
can
be?
have the developer move the sidewalk so that it's safe.
Yeah, we want the sidewalk.
That's easy,
Voting,
right.
That's easy.
I mean, this
I mean, I was
is
thinking-
tying right into the driveway.
I was thinking something like that. That curb line would come straight across, and I can show this to everybody.
Rick,
That
you
would
need that
allow-
marker and draw right on the board.
Sure.
That marker right there.
We're trying to, Jennifer, make it as green an area as possible, but
Yeah.
have parking spots, and
Well,
to
we're
do it
gonna
to be safe.
bring this straight
have a
across.
road, so
Yeah,
you don't have
that's-
driveways pulling off onto the
And we're gonna
road.
come up
I
here
understand that, I just didn't.
and kind of bump the road out like that to allow for the theoretical parking area. And I would, suggest bringing the driveway in close perpendicular as possible, and then the same type of thing over here.
Yeah, that's the concept, yeah,
Oh, so
Yeah,
it's
I mean, we gotta-
extending.
yeah.
Look at
Sure.
getting a vehicle to fit and things of that nature,
Just
but
gonna
that's the
become
general.
grass. Like these will be an
concept
extension of
we
their
were
front
taking.
yards.
Oh, I
And then this
see.
little, like where the island used to be. which
So
is
then the
fine.
island would be gone, all this pavement would be gone.
Yeah,
The island
Yeah.
would be gone, that pavement would be gone, the sidewalks would get, constructed and blended here, this
Move a
sidewalk.
little, Rick, they want to see the
We just
the
can't
board.
see what you're seeing, yeah, thank you.
I think we should have Ray Sketchy, he did a better job.
I had a quick question.
name and address, please.
Yeah, am I speaking through the microphone?
Yeah, well, just for the people at home, as long
Yeah,
as,
no,
little,
I just want to make sure it's,
You gotta
little
hold
green
it
light
I
on,
gotta hold it down, okay. Hold it, it's on?
Just make sure the green light's on, flip the switch.
Green light's on.
okay, you're good.
Okay. I'm Ron Krauk, I live across the street, and I've known the Rileys for years and Bob and Rob and Jean for years.
Across the,
too.
across the
So
street from.
I'd like to see them both get, something that works. And the part that I don't understand, I'm going to ask Bill's question in a slightly different way. What procedurally would have to happen to allow an exception to the cul-de-sac rule?
Which particular rule?
Yeah,
The
I'm not,
rule of the length of the cul-de-sac, not permitting Rob and Jean to put the 13 units that they want.
Right, so one of the ideas last time was to just get rid of that, not do the connection and get
Yeah.
a waiver for an
And
extra long
I looked
cul-de-sac.
on the web and found that there are lots and lots of towns that have 1,000-foot cul-de-sac
That's
rules, and,
Exactly right.
everything from 200 to like 1,200, I think it was.
We
And
looked
lots
at-
of towns must consider it to be safe enough to have a longer cul-de-sac.
You're exactly right, but we work with the rules that.
And so what would have to happen to make an exception to a rule?
Normally, like in the case of Frederickson, it was an unsafe condition, and there was a grandfathering there. That road was probably 80 or 90 years old. This road was built under current standards with an opening in there for a connection.
But aren't we talking about an unsafe condition in this, making what's now a cul-de-sac?
But when the
Aren't we
thing-
talking about making that unsafe?
When the thing is done, it will be safe. That's what everybody's working at right now.
It seems like it's eluding us.
Well, we don't do one try and give up.
Yeah.
So
Okay, well-
that's the goal, though.
So
We have
what-
an added thing in here because we're trying to create parking too for Mr. Riley so that he has street parking. So that's a little extra caveat to the whole plan.
Okay, so again, though, what procedurally would have to happen to make that exception? In other words, how do those exceptions get proposed or made? Is it a town meeting? What has to happen?
Let's change the regulations.
And how do they change?
The regulations change with a public hearing and a vote of the planning board.
Okay. And a public hearing gets mounted in,
A public hearing is a notification by the planning board, 30 days posted. We have a hearing on a change of a regulation that we offer input from the residents. Right here.
so the first step is for someone to request a public hearing?
The first step is for us to decide we want to change the regulation.
Ah, I see. And what gets that to happen?
Not easy.
I think what's going on is that, you know, you're trying to figure out a way to have the planning board say, yeah, they can change the regulations. But I think what's going on here is if we did what we should have done in the first place without having any consideration for the folks that are on, the Rileys, for instance, then that road would have just went and made a curve, and that would have been the end of it. Those driveways would have just tied in, and that would have been the end of it. But because of the unique situation that we have, the board felt that we really should try to do something to make this situation maybe not ideal for the Rileys, but better. And that's where these different versions have come to be. So at this point, we're trying to get to a point where we can't do exactly what the Rileys are looking for because of the regulations. The way they're written, they require us to do certain things. But we certainly are trying to make the situation better and certainly hope that we can get to a point where everyone comes away with something that's maybe not exactly what they're looking for, but still something.
Yeah, I was just looking at the I've backed out of Bill and Karen's driveway, and I just can't imagine what it would be like to back into a rotary that traffic was coming into it.
Yeah, again, I don't
It
think
just seems unsafe.
I don't think we're talking about the kind of traffic that we get over here on Union Street.
No, I definitely
You know,
not.
I don't think that's the situation. I think you've got a residential neighborhood. You will have additional cars, but I don't see the situation being that even you couldn't park a car on the side of the street even. Certainly, people will be appreciative of people parked on the side of the street and monitor their speeds and how they drive. So, I know it's not, again, it's not ideal. It's not making everybody happy, but I mean, there are certain things we have to do.
Could I make a comment?
Oh,
It's right over there.
No. You just hold it, it just stays up, you don't have to push it.
Yeah, just push the button on.
I'm Rob Kane, one of the owners of the property. Rick, you don't happen to have one of the overlays that can be projected of the cul-de-sac on top of the, one of the rotaries in the center of town? By any chance, no? Well, I guess what I was getting at was,
Perhaps
it
Amy,
seems like.
perhaps Amy has it, I'm not sure. You have this
Well,
one?
I don't,
think
I just
it's
wanted for
electronic,
people
no.
to be able to see it. So it seems to me that we are potentially overcomplicating a situation. At the last meeting, we were talking about how much traffic is actually gonna go around that rotary. And my feeling is that having to drive up that hill to go around a rotary to drive out the existing Crestbrook now, if you're down at the proposed new homes, I don't know why anybody would do that, And by leaving the cul-de-sac the way it is, it acts as a traffic mitigating device. You don't have to disrupt the plant material that's in there. And, as far as parking goes, those rotaries are so big in the center of town that if there was somebody parked on one side or in the middle, there's still enough room to drive around them. I was surprised when Rick showed me the overlay. They aren't exactly the same size as the center of town, but what, they're 1 foot smaller, a foot and a half? I mean, you'd never know that. I mean, I drive a dump truck for a living. I know if there were 2 cars up there, I could drive around that. So, I don't know, it just seems to me, and it would also you drop from a 26-foot width road down to 24, but the binder code, I believe, has got to be 25, because you need that extra foot to put the monolithic down. So we are asking for a reduction in the width of the road. That's the drivable surface. And then the other, in the reduction of the width, it helps with the runoff for the open drainage system. So I don't, it just seems to me leaving it the way it is, and, the amount of traffic that's gonna go through there is slim, but that's my 2 cents.
We appreciate you having the extra sketches done to try to help with this. I know it's expensive and,
No,
the effort-
absolutely,
the effort-
no problem.
appreciate
It's certainly a topic for discussion, but it seems like it keeps getting more and more involved, and, I shut that back on.
Well, just to respond a little bit, I think one of the comments that you made was about the width of the road. I having listened to Rick describe the 24 feet and then listened to the comments from the board members, I think the board is in favor of the 26-foot road, not the 24-foot road.
Okay.
I apologize, Walter, but I'm not going for it. 2 separate roadways after the Frederickson public hearing.
You don't have to apologize to anybody.
I kind of insistent that the roads stay the same width.
Yeah, that's fine.
One sidewalk to 2 is fine with me, but not the roadway.
Well, he makes a good point about number one, there really not being a lot of traffic. Like, we have to remember that this is not necessarily going to create some huge stream of cars all of a sudden. And number two, if it's wide enough to allow traffic while still allowing parking, so you're saying that's true. If it was left the way it was, people could drive around and there could still be parking by his house.
Park along that edge, and a vehicle could make that.
So, good point, that maybe we're overthinking it in that,
Then the issue becomes a driveway access onto the cul-de-sac.
yeah,
That's the
yeah,
one
Okay.
that just changes. That's, for me anyway, other than that, it'd
Yeah.
be a lot more simple. I think that the point was valid, the driveways onto a
yep,
Yeah,
gotcha.
that's really my concern.
Yeah.
So picture the idea that you can travel around the circle in the center of town. If there was a car parked out there, there would be room to pass through. But now throw on 2 or 3 driveways that are getting in and out of there. That's the difference. So this is not an apples and oranges, or apples and apples. This is apples and oranges we're comparing right now. So, and that goes right to the issue of safety.
Well, it would seem that from all the discussion, the sketch that Rick has drawn in red, oops.
Oh, okay.
Timing is everything.
At any rate, let me finish. The sketch that Rick drew in red seems to be the workable compromise.
Oh, boy.
How's that?
There you go, all right.
Pretty good.
Which is that the cul-de-sac comes out, we round off the bottom there, and we round off the top, and then on the top we put some sort of parking area that allows for 2 or 3 vehicles in there.
That's fine.
Rick,
And it's a 26-foot road.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, we can make it 26 feet. That's the
And-
board's preference.
And Beta has offered several thoughts on the drainage system, too.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I have a few observations on the cul-de-sac question, if the board wants to entertain them. The purpose for a cul-de-sac is because you don't have another outlet. So you want to provide vehicles, particularly larger vehicles, the ability to go into the dead-end road and not necessarily need to reverse to get back out, which is why cul-de-sacs are as large as they are, so it can accommodate those large emergency vehicles that might have to go, school buses. By connecting the roads, we are eliminating the technical need for a cul-de-sac. We no longer have that need. We have 2 means of egress to the neighborhood. if we stop thinking about the end of that existing Crestbrook as a cul-de-sac and look at it more as a private driveway that serves two other private driveways, and if the concern is people being confused coming up the neighborhood and continuing to try to access that loop, I would think there are plenty of things that could be done with signage, pavement texturing, to create enough of a difference between the main thoroughfare and what would essentially become a private driveway. Not technically, but practically, so that the number of instances of people driving through the neighborhood becoming confused and attempting to use that loop would be diminished. And I think, Jen, to your point, we really are talking about a handful of vehicles that, in the due course of time, are going to know the neighborhood very well. This is not going to be a thoroughfare with people generally unfamiliar with the neighborhood. So I think that there is probably a solution that allows the configuration of the through road, the maintenance of some portion of the upper loop for access from the driveways, continued provision of parking for the residents on that area, but also discouraging the flow of traffic through that loop through a number of different, we have control over that pavement area. It's rather large right now. It doesn't need to be that large to accommodate parking and the private property owners using it, but to discourage other people from going through it on a regular basis.
You know, to Mike's point, I mean, we're showing a sweeping radius so that a vehicle could make that turn. We could reconfigure these radius to a very tight, so you would really need to stop to maneuver that turn. Signage could be added. You know, we could create a crosswalk for the sidewalk out of,
Right.
you know, another material to catch the eye of the driver, so
Right.
that they're really not looking at going in that direction. The benefit to that would be, you know, I'm assuming you back out in that fashion and go around. That back out movement of your driveway and this driveway could still occur outside of what would be the travel way, if you will, of a throughway. That would remain an area that we'd want to basically keep people from trying to maneuver through, to allow the two driveways to utilize that part of the cul-de-sac as their own, if you will. You know, I think that's what Mike was trying to get at. You know, it's a private driveway within the public layout. And that, you know, that could certainly be done. I mean, there's many options here. That's why we wanted to.
You just make an infiltrating paver over there to designate the parking area?
Porous pavement? Yeah, you
Not
could.
porous pavement, no, an infiltration.
Oh, you're talking a paver stone.
Right, just distinguish it from
How much
the,
money does the developer have? I shouldn't make light of that, but it's possible, but it is
Try a
expensive.
small area, though.
Yeah. I think Rick's idea also of some sort of a different material running across the entrance to the driveway could be flush, I don't know, stamped asphalt, concrete, something like that.
Similar to what's at the roundabouts in the inner circle, to basically carry the sidewalk across. You know, there's many things we could do, treatments like that.
Again, with the end goal of really discouraging that traffic movement around the outer edge of the circle, keeping them on the main thoroughfare, but preserving the functionality of that area for the people who are using it. Wow.
Do we have any comments from the audience on that?
Yeah.
Take the mic, please.
My name is Deanna Drapeau. I live at 5 Crestbrook. Currently, my front lawn overlooks a beautiful cul-de-sac that's nicely landscaped, that adds some aesthetic curb appeal that I'm now having a parking lot put in front of. So I have an issue with that.
Number 5 is just point to number 5?
It's fine, right?
No.
Cross.
Right here. 5.
There, okay. So, please explain a little more, I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah,
you're
so right
saying.
now we have a cul-de-sac in front of our property.
Yeah.
And occasionally the Rileys do have visitors that park there.
Right,
It's not everyday occurrence. But now in order to accommodate, I'm having that cul-de-sac that's beautifully landscaped taken away and having a parking lot with different road structure put in front of my home. That's not why I bought my home on a cul-de-sac. So aesthetically, I have a problem with that. I understand that the Canes want to develop their property, but they're not going through any, modification to their development. Their neighbors are.
And just to follow up on that, the last thing I want to do is to force my neighbors to have some odd configuration with different road surfaces and parking, designated for, on account of our need for it. As it is, we actually do have people visiting almost every day, but it's medical, not visitors. They're doing their job, but it's sort of, you don't notice it because of the circle. It's one of the reasons why we selected that.
so, just to be clear, what you're saying is you would prefer not to have the type of solution that's in that red sketch?
Exactly, that would be.
That's your, okay, understood, yep. Like I said, it's gonna be a compromise no matter what you do.
I'm Paul Toy, I'm Deanna's husband.
Yep.
I'm also concerned with the additional footage and yard that has to be maintained in front of the houses. And maintenance is something that obviously everyone has to do, but I'm not sure what exactly would be designed in front if the road was to stay that way. We'd have a longer driveway to deal with, would also have, more grass to cut. Not that it's a lot, but it's just, you're so used to what you have, and to have it changed, it's not pleasant at this point.
Any other questions from the board on this? John, you all set?
Yeah, I think that we have to get another drawing that accommodates the driveways not going onto the cul-de-sac
Yeah.
and some parking off the street area there.
Yep.
Could I just? So one of the issues that you have with leaving the cul-de-sac the way it is now and just bringing the road into it is because of two driveways that back out onto it?
That's one of the issues, yeah.
Okay. And I don't mean this to be argumentative with the board at all, but people on Medway Street, where people drive at least the speed limit, back out all the time onto it. And Main Street, the same thing. Cronin's, all up and down through there, people back out all the time. And, we're back to how many people are really going to be going through there once they've done it once. And when you come up either way, you're going to be looking at a rotary, and you're going to want to stop anyways before you proceed into it. So, to me, it goes back to complicating something that, to me, seems pretty straightforward. But, Tara, there is some nice plant material in that cul-de-sac, and by even taking half it out, you're gonna run into taking out one of the flowering cherry trees or whatever it is.
Through here.
So,
This becomes.
yeah.
yeah, it's dead center in the tree, and to transplant it, there's probably loam, and then there's bony gravel most everywhere up there. It's not a good candidate
So
to
these become
be transplanted.
driveways.
But
we
anyway.
Well, that
preserve
makes sense to me,
for
which
them
is
to
why I was
use
saying before,
parking. And you can
basically that
even
makes
by
sense, but
narrowing
you're
this,
saying that the
achieve more
driveways
islands
into
for what you're
a
losing
cul-de-sac,
there.
is that not
And-
preferred, or is it against zoning
Hell,
or
put
our
in some
subdivision
landscaping over
regs?
there too.
Right,
So
right.
you make up
I
for
guess
what
is
you
my
lose there.
question.
It's not
Here and there.
preferred.
I think it's gonna be because of that.
If those are my two choices, I would say those are not preferred.
So again, I think that's something to consider, that if we don't anticipate a lot of traffic and we think people are gonna slow down anyway, to give people, it's gonna be relatively safe for people to back out. If it's not against zoning or the regs, maybe we still consider that.
Rick?
Because then it would preserve all the landscaping.
I also believe that there will be more traffic than you think. I've seen people come and just circle around and leave, not knowing where they're going, lost, confused. And not to mention people at night going up that road, potentially not even knowing that, not being familiar and not seeing that circle or seeing the island and going into the island. I think there's a real potential for that happening. So yes, I agree that there probably won't be very much traffic when people get used to it, but not everybody's from the neighborhood. Not everybody's from our neighborhood or the surrounding area, or will be from your neighborhood ultimately. So will it happen a lot? Probably not, but there's a potential, and I think it will happen, and it can happen. Also, the headlights, for some of us, we'll have coming right into our homes in both directions, or the new direction coming up the hill. So that's something else that we consider and think about and would not want to have.
Make that island big as you can, a half island.
Well, I think we've heard inputs from the neighbors, we've heard inputs from the developer, the owners of the property to be developed, we've heard inputs from the board. We've got some things to consider. There's a couple of other thoughts on the table. We could get a couple of more sketches and have another go at this, which is what I think is the appropriate thing to do. So, anyone want to make a motion to continue this public hearing until next time?
Rob Kane again. There were a couple of topics that were brought up last meeting. If you wanted me to go over the soil testing that I did, I know I
Please.
submitted.
Please.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's there are two on there, and it's the bottom one that says PowerPoint.
Yeah, it's you're good.
It
Oh,
came
okay.
up as
No, I see.
E-Drive the last time, which was the same as what I had.
Everybody backs out, isn't it?
Onto a road that I'm watching.
Make sure it's in there.
It's not showing up. So the reason that happens.
It's done all the
Sometimes you
time.
can't avoid it.
Can I just add one other thing? Just a couple other thoughts. We talked about the connection to Crestbrook on many levels now, and, for our point of view, it's a safety issue. And I keep hearing the talk about there'll be very few vehicles traveling in and out as a way of mitigating that issue of safety. If that's the case, why is it, we keep diminishing the number of cars? If there's so few cars, what is the real purpose of connecting the two roads other than the regulation itself? And that's where I keep going back to. Would the board just consider the fact that perhaps this is not a good and safe connection?
The town always goes for interconnectivity for public safety.
Well, I realize that, but there are exceptions, and I've raised that one in Frederickson, and that certainly is a longer cul-de-sac. And that was a public safety issue too, I believe, because you said it was the roadway was narrow, and so there were issues there. We definitely raised some issues here. And there's no comparison to any circle with driveways connecting into them. You might say it's easy to back out of that with the few vehicles that we have, but all it takes is one. So that this is an issue I think we really have to weigh before we make any final decision.
I think Rick should give it another shot, come up with a few sketches. I think that regardless of whether there's gonna be limited traffic or moderate traffic, we should make it as safe as it could be. Not trying to determine what the traffic flow is gonna be down the road. It should be as safe as it can be.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so you want to go ahead?
Sure.
Erase the spaceship.
There's maybe a slideshow part. You can go to that and just click. No, it is on the beginning, but if you just click on slideshow at the very top, yeah, and then it just fills up without having the stuff on the side. Which one did you put in the PowerPoint?
Yeah, just go from beginning.
From beginning.
Yep.
Okay.
So Gene and I moved from Park Street, Norfolk to 33 Medway Street 25 years ago. We have our own artesian well water supply. This well is used for the house and our trees. The low spot on our property are 2 ponds. We stopped volume purchasing trees in 2003. 2005 was our last year in business. Mr. Riley made some assertions at the last meeting. The first one was that the trucks are already in use for at least the last year. I own a triaxle dump truck. It's the only truck on my property. I purchased an excavator this past December. Nothing was moved prior to that. This is where I garage my truck when parked. It's indoors. Currently, I'm using my truck to organize materials on site. Mr. Riley also stated he was a good customer. The implication, I think, that he was making was that he had firsthand knowledge of our business because he lived next door. He purchased this house in Crestbrook Road on March 15th of 2006. We were already out of business.
I'll answer these at any point.
This is
Rob,
kind
if you
of
want.
Oh, yeah,
I have the
this-
floor right now, right?
Sir, please,
is
we're not going to have a
counterproductive.
back and forth here between
It's
two
supposed to be a
gentlemen.
pest
I just want a
report,
chance.
not a
Yeah.
back and forth issue.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a pest report.
That's what I have, sir, isn't it?
We were talking about arguments with sayings in past meetings.
Yeah, we don't want to go into that. If you've got a test report, show it to us, please.
Okay, that's all I was getting at, is that's my truck. Next picture, please. That's me filling my truck, moving the loam where the future cul-de-sac is going to be. That's one of the things that he wanted tested, was the material that was being moved, and the soil that was being moved. That's the soil being moved. The material being moved is up on Medway Street, going up towards Medway Street. This is the cover letter from Lord Environmental Associates. As requested, Lord Environmental Incorporated collected 2 soil samples from the above referenced property for the purchase of testing EPA priority pollutant herbicides. The samples were collected from 2 areas currently undergoing excavation and grading for new construction. The area was selected to be representative where the herbicides were reportedly applied to weed growth at the former horticultural nursery. Skip the next paragraph is how it was transported. As shown on the attached laboratory report, none of the target herbicide compounds were detected. This is the soil sample that was taken from the loam where I had the excavator. None of the target pollutants were found. If you can go to the next slide, please. This is the, if you can go back one. This is from the hill, the fill that's going to be moved over to where Crestbrook is. There's nothing detected here. If you can go to the next slide, please. I wasn't asked to do any water testing. I did. This is from my artesian well. You can notice there's no lead, no zinc, no arsenic. And then here are the pollutants down here, all the organic ones, which are your oils, the benzenes, trichloroethylenes. If you can go to the next slide, please. None of those are detected. None of those are detected. If you can go to the next slide, please. This is a groundwater well that we have. I also had this tested. No pollutants detected, none detected here, none detected there. That's it. Can
Thank
you just
you.
go to the last slide, please? No, that one, right there. So this goes with the 7 Crestbrook Road property, and it's a easement for a right-of-way that says future through roadway easement. So I don't understand why the owner of 7 Crestbrook is confused about why there's going to be a road through there. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't think anybody's disputing that there was an easement across Lot 7. This information is
Right.
interesting, but
Well, I'm sure
I'm not sure we're
we welcome
disputing any of
the,
it.
right, indeed, we welcome the test results, over and above, I think. All right, entertain a motion to continue this public hearing till our next meeting on April 11th.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second,
All in favor? Aye.
till 7:15.
Yeah, 7:15, okay. Right. Thank you all, appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, yeah, we shouldn't allow that,
Point
yeah.
of order.
Who's this coming in here? Who's this coming in? We, how are you?
Holding down the fort?
You can't win on this one. No matter what we come up with, it's gonna be compromise.
I think his safety issue is a valid one. Equal, if not greater, a safety issue than Frederick Sierra. It's a property owner, he has the right to the safe passage and use of his property. It's a pretty unique situation.
We're down to here now.
Which we're continuing as well, right?
Yeah, that's right. And we
You
also.
wanna keep going,
we
you're doing a
cov-
great job. Keep going. Oh, you did all that already?
We did these 3 things too.
Oak Knoll, Oak Knoll, which one's Oak Knoll? I always forget which one's Oak Knoll.
I don't know. Bob,
Which one's Oak Knoll? That we did the bond.
Okay, well, we'll wait for you.
Well, you
About
can
15
grab me
seconds.
If you want to. Oh, you're going to go to that one next?
Island, but it's next after we
14
continue it, yeah.
13 seconds. 12 seconds.
You need to tell me.
Hey Ray, on a lighter note, I was in your old stomping grounds yesterday, the Gloucester
one?
Town Hall.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Karen Scott.
Do they still have the
is,
wanted poster up of them?
planner Oh,
I'm sorry, did they take
Do
the
they-
picture
do-
down?
No, do they still have the wanted poster up of you?
I didn't see one anywhere.
I'm gonna take that as a positive.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve would,
Open, if you wouldn't mind reading the next
Hearing notice?
public
Oh,
hearing.
open it and
Sorry,
con-
I
open it.
do have
Continue
to
it.
open it. That's what you guys were trying to say, and I was like not even paying attention. Where is it? Sorry.
It's in the pile somewhere.
I
yeah.
forgot that we actually, even though they asked to be continued, that we
You can borrow mine if you want.
Thank you.
I want one of these.
Okay. Didn't we already have this?
Yeah, but
hearing?
do we need to, well, this is the
We-
continuation.
So we don't need to, I don't need to read this
Open it
again.
again, we've already opened it last
Oh, we did open it.
meeting.
We did
Yeah.
it last time?
Yeah,
So I don't need to do anything. We
Right.
just have to, somebody has to make a motion to
Continue,
this
right.
We did
again.
not open it.
We
Can't
did.
remember.
194?
Main. We're
194 Main
Well, we
Street.
have the minutes from last,
we just approved the minutes.
what are those minutes?
What does the minutes say?
The 194?
Was it not a public hearing where we just?
I know we saw it, but
Right.
I can't remember if we opened it or just saw it.
Here, then.
It doesn't say we opened it.
Oh,
No,
We didn't?
we must have just looked at it then, huh?
I think you might have previewed the application,
Okay.
so.
All right, so I'll read it then.
Yeah, you got it?
I think so. This
Okay.
is March 14th, but I'll just change this. Okay. Notice is hereby given that in accordance with Mass General Law, Section 48 and the Norfolk zoning bylaws, Section F11, a public hearing will be held on Tuesday, March 14th, 2017 at 7:30 PM in room 124 at the Norfolk Town Hall, 1 Liberty Lane, Norfolk, Mass, relative to a site plan application for property located at 194 Main Street in Norfolk, Mass, Assessors Map 14, Block 49, Lot 14. The applicant, Rocco Realty II LLC of Walpole, Massachusetts, is proposing to construct a mixed-use building with associated parking and utilities. The applicant is also requesting special permits for pedestrian access, streetscape, and build-to line. See section I-4A5, I-4A6, and I-4B2A, and a stormwater management permit. The property is located in the B1 zoning district. The plan and application are available for public inspection in the Office of Norfolk Planning Board during regular office hours. Thanks.
Pray you're not getting those back, you know, they're gonna be gone by the time you get them back.
That's fine. I know where to get more. There's a store right next door.
Oh, these yours? Thanks.
All right, I think we want to entertain a motion to continue this public hearing till our next meeting, April 11th. And what time are we at? 7:30 again.
All right, I move to continue the public hearing for 194 Main Street until our meeting on April 11th at 7:30 PM.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I'll go tell Rick we're ready for him. Save him.
And
I can go
50.
We counted really slow.
Yeah, yeah, don't want to let that happen.
That was nasty.
I'm not sure if I have this.
I have a paper copy, and I have some 11 by 17.
14 Shire Drive.
That's this one. That's 11 and 12, isn't it?
Is it
Yeah.
Sharon or Shire?
This one's, so many Shire Drives. 11 and 12. Keep digging into
We're looking
11
for it, I can
and 12.
I
11
can
and
start
12.
this one, you have that. All right, I have a full-size one, I can go up there if you want.
Oh, I have one.
I do have some
Oh, is it
11
on-
by
it's part of this?
17.
Great. Okay.
Am I looking at this upside down? Yep.
So can I just ask a question before you dive in? We were given the report by Weston and Sampson.
Yes.
But it's from October 15? Does that sound right? Dated October?
Is that what he dated it?
I thought it was a recent review. I didn't catch that when I read it at home.
My page says March 10th, 2017.
Yeah,
I just noticed that because you said it.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So this is a recent review then?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure
Ignore
I
the
wasn't
date.
completely behind
He's
here.
like the rest of us, and he got caught, but he's not here.
Ignore the man behind the curtain, right?
Thank
It
you.
wasn't Michael that wrote that, so he's
So
good.
you're safe.
All
You're
wants
good.
to work for one company at a time.
Right.
And I don't know if everybody had a chance to review Lawrence's feedback on his inspection, but he did ask for you to confirm that things were going to be working, and that was a general gist I got
Yeah,
of
right.
his feedback.
This is not a good report.
It was not a great report.
It's not the worst, it's not the best.
You can't confirm 5 out of 7, that's probably not
Well,
as good as it can be.
Part of the issue is they've paved over some of the structures out there for the winter conditions so that they would not have to raise them twice, so we were not able to access some of the drainage structures. For the most part, they were, fairly close. There were a couple of issues. But what we're here for this evening is to see if the board would consider them to obtain a temporary occupancy for, say, 90 days with the possibility of an extension. And what that would allow for is the remainder of the work to be done, as well as those drainage structure covers to be brought to grade and a complete and full evaluation to be done of the drainage system, so that we could then report back to the board that it ultimately functions as suggested. So,
This is a lot more than covers, you know that.
Oh, correct. I mean, we need
This
to...
is invert and pipe issues here.
Yeah, there's one invert and pipe issue
And there's a,
in this location here, but what I'm getting at is anything that is an issue is gonna have to be fixed ultimately before we can do a complete and thorough evaluation and say it works.
what's the bond on this?
Hence the purpose of the as-built.
Is there a bond on
A
this?
finalized bill.
Is there a bond on this?
No.
There's no bond on this.
No.
We don't do bonds.
not on-
Is the building inspector okay that,
Building inspector's gonna rely on this board to give
Oh.
them the ability to occupy. And that's why we suggested a temporary occupancy. They believe they can have all the work completed, in the next 90 days. So we have given you a list of items to be completed. They are working on the site, and we had updated it. They have installed the lighting around the site.
Where's
Has
the
Larry
list?
seen the list?
It was on the plan.
Okay, so he's seen
Is
the
that,
list.
where's the list of items? Up here?
Items to complete, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So there's 2 roof cover structures to be constructed. All of the slope granite curving needs to be constructed. The top course of asphalt needs to be placed. The parking spaces and handicap area need to be striped. Fencing and gates need to be installed. The dumpster pad and fencing of the dumpster pad needs to be installed. Looming and seeding, mulch cover for the landscape areas need to be completed. I will say they have installed the street trees, as we've shown on the periphery. They have not done any of the landscaping trees.
I don't care about that. Good talk, but although the apparent slopes on the drainage system pipe network appear to be appropriate, the engineer, needs to confirm that The as-built inverts allow the drainage system to operate as designed, as many of the inverts in as-built slope don't match the proposed invert. So basically, he built this system right here that does not conform to the plans. Confirm the invert into the existing direct manhole in Sharon Ave where direct manhole A is connected. The invert out of the manhole A is listed as 12-inch RCP at 254. If this is correct, the designer should confirm the anticipated 15-inch. So the plans call for 15-inch, it's 12. Existing contractor confirmed, it still works with a 12-inch pipe, so he's changing these pipes that are on the drainage. There's no one that confirmed anything. Also, the invert of 254 out of the manhole in the roadway is almost level. So basically, this drainage is not built according to the plan. That's what this is saying.
correct.
All right, forget about the street trees. This drainage doesn't confirm. The pipe runs from number 10 to direct manhole K, needs to be confirmed. The invert currently indicates the flow goes into HC10 at a slope of 1.9 plus or minus. So this whole thing, all of these inverts, the size of the pipe, the actual pipe, all are done outside of the plans that were approved. So basically, the designer should be coming up, and not to say that this doesn't work. I've been around long enough to, this could work, but someone has to confirm that this drainage system works, because this thing is not built at all according to the plan.
Correct.
Right here.
So, there's a drain manhole in Sharon Ave, located here. Pipe was provided from that manhole onto the site at a 15-inch HDPE pipe. That pipe was determined to be crushed. I believe, Ray, some time ago you were out on site when that happened, when they tore that area up. And that's
I'm
where
not sure I saw that one,
the
but
gravel fixtures,
Not to
or lack of gravel
down there, I
fixtures.
think.
not to surface it, but basically, to me, who designed this system? Who stamped this system?
We did.
All right, then you gotta get the design engineer to stamp this as-built to say that all of these elevations and sizes of pipes and invert elevations all work. That's what we need.
And we're gonna do
Right.
that, our hope was to do that in 90 days,
Right.
and we can access everything.
Yeah, but you wanna move in there and all of this stuff, we're not sure if it works.
Correct, and if it doesn't work, they're gonna fix it.
Yeah, but
I mean, that,
So what would that entail? What kind
I'm
of,
gonna go to Bob McGee and ask him to rip up 2 holes in the roadway. And if we get a snowstorm, he's not gonna be happy with me. Because the 2 manholes you're talking about are here and here in the existing road, and Bob McGee paved over them.
But what was done on this as-built is saying that all of the specs on the plans are in disagreement with what was constructed.
Correct. Some slight, some more significant.
I know.
And until we can get in there and see where the pipe connection was made, it's difficult to assess if everything contributing to that pipe is gonna function. So, again, they have to go, there are some on site that we can
When was the
certainly
drainage
dig up.
finished?
When was the drainage finished?
Yeah.
And brought to grade last fall, just before they paved
So
it.
we're standing here now in the spring and it's still not addressed. I mean, I'm not telling you something you don't know. I mean, this, you got 7 line items here and 5 of them say that they totally disagree with the plan.
Right,
And I know it's private property, but, you know.
but that doesn't necessarily mean it does or doesn't work. I mean, and I'm
Yeah,
not saying it does.
But right now, you're not saying it doesn't either.
I know, I
So we
can't
gotta,
tell
we
you
gotta
that.
get, we gotta get that answer.
If that's what you want us to do, then we'll postpone this till they
I'm only
complete all the
one.
work.
I'm only one, but I mean,
I didn't know it was within our jurisdiction to give out certificates of occupancy, whether they be temporary or permanent.
No,
that'll-
I really don't feel comfortable that that's not our purview. That's a
we don't
building
give out,
inspector.
right, exactly.
No, it's a
That'll come
building-
from the building
building
department,
inspector.
So then what are you asking for from us?
that you would allow them to issue.
Well, again, it's not within our purview. We don't allow them or not allow them to give certificates of occupancy. It's not our jurisdiction.
Okay, so they're not gonna give us a certificate of occupancy.
And that's their decision.
But why?
Without any action of this board.
But why? We normally, there's a site plan approval when the project is done, but that normally doesn't interfere with the building commissioner doing his job and letting you in early.
He
Yeah, I
would
don't know
not
how
let
his
us in early
process
at
is
the
connected.
car
What
wash.
would we vote on tonight that
Really?
would change his mind?
We have in the past approved temporary COs, as Rick said. The car wash was one example of that, where they had additional things that needed to get
They were,
completed there.
they were minor. They were things in the,
It was
as.
just paving.
Agreed.
It was just paving.
Agreed.
This is structural.
I understand.
This is pipe sizes. I mean, 12-inch pipe or 15, this is structural. Inverts, going level,
And I have to say, regardless of the drainage issues, which is what we do have purview over, I mean, fencing and gates, guardrails at retaining walls, those are safety issues. I'd have a problem granting
Yeah,
a certificate of occupancy, even temporary, without some, I mean, those are two of the lists that you have that I feel are more safety related. You got a retaining wall without a guardrail on it. I don't want to tell somebody to move in there. I don't want that on my vote.
I'd love to help out, Rick, but wow, I was reading this thing and said, wow, everything is wrong.
Until we can be proven that it works right.
Well, it's
Right.
not according to the plans at all. It
Right.
still could work.
That's right.
Because you can make field changes and it
Right.
still absolutely could work, and it may.
This is one of those situations where you're guilty until you prove yourself
Who
innocent.
did the site work and the drainage work?
Hugo.
Right, and I know Hugo, and he's an excellent installer. He's been doing it for years and years, and he wouldn't change these, I don't think. He wouldn't change these pipe sizes and elevations. I don't know why he would, actually. I really was gonna say that he must have known what he was doing or try to save money, but you don't change elevations to save money. Right. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, things have changed,
Right, yeah.
so,
If we got something from, in my opinion, Michelle's issues are different than mine. I haven't even looked into that. She's more thorough. But I looked this report saying, whoa. But if we can have some type of statement from the stamped engineer that's saying that this works, then that would be okay for me.
and ultimately, that's where we want to go.
I think that's exactly what I was expecting to see based on Weston and Sampson's letter, was that we were going to get some confirmation from the engineer, because that's what he's telling us to get confirmation from the engineer that this will work, period. And I think we could potentially sign off on something like that.
Absolutely. I mean, the engineer's the one that decides whether it works or not. It's private property, so if he says this works as is, then
It's,
there was an over-design perhaps, and it works, so that's okay.
yeah.
I mean, that's fine, we're gonna have to wait until
But
we're allowed to get in the
the
street.
other issue that Michelle raised, and I agree with her, is from a safety point of view, there's no fence around this area and no guardrail. How are you gonna do that? They're gonna move in and keep people from running in and out of your property and stealing stuff and tripping over this and breaking a leg and, gosh.
Yeah, I'm okay with some striping, I'm okay with some loam and seed, but
All right, so we'll get the complete evaluation of the drainage system, we'll have them get the guardrail up at the retaining wall. The fencing was more for screening outdoor storage
Yeah.
and security.
Yeah, yeah,
We'll get a timeline on that.
okay.
I know a lot of these things are weather dependent, so,
Yeah.
that's the difficulty we have, is, as I said, getting into the
Well,
street.
fortunately, we're
Right now,
getting
you're all
better
set-
weather.
You're all set to go, yeah.
Yeah, we're probably a month away from being able to get into the street. I would say.
You're too good an engineer to have known that we'd received this letter and not think that this was gonna be
Well,
smooth sailing.
we can't evaluate something that we can't get access to.
nor
That's
can,
the problem.
but
We
nor
have-
can we, right?
But what was accessed and what was calculated is not agree with the plans.
Correct.
Right.
So all we get is stuff that doesn't tie in. We don't have anything that ties in.
Correct.
Right, so we
And
can't kind of go on
unfortunately,
a
our
whim
hands are
and
tied to
whim and a
give you
prayer.
a 100% that it works.
How much time do you need?
I take 90%.
I took 3/4.
If we put you on the agenda for April 11th, would that be enough?
My first question, I gotta get to Bob McGee, and when can I open up his road? When can I get Hugo to tear up the road to get to the covers? That's the biggest question. The stuff on site, I can get Hugo to do what he's gonna do now, and he'll have to plow around it.
I just saw Bob today. He's in a great mood. You should catch him tomorrow.
Sure, yes.
Rick's all set up for a second hearing. Are you doing Sochi too?
No, I'm leaving. You guys do whatever you want, I'll call tomorrow.
If you leave, he'll do it.
I'm not gonna tell you it's fine. I can tell you we've evaluated what we were able to get to. And, there is an issue here. We're not sure about this. and we're not sure about this, primarily because of the way the tie-ins were made. That doesn't mean it does not work.
Right.
I'm not hung up on this being changed from a 15-inch ADS to a 12-inch RCP, because it was a relatively small watershed area, and they made some changes to the roof. That I can tell you functions fine to here.
Yep.
From there to there, yeah, it's a 12-inch pipe leading up. It was a
Leading-
15-inch pipe leading into the site that was provided from the developer.
So it's a 12-inch dumping into a 15.
It's a 12 dumping into a 12. When this development was built, there was a 15-inch ADS pipe put in this area here. When they got out there, it was collapsed.
To do what? To re-
Allow for
Connect
connection
drainage.
with this one lot that was here.
And so it's going to receive drainage from that one lot?
That's correct.
So it's
And it
a,
was
it's
sized,
a 12 going into a 15?
it was a 12 going into a 15. They tore out the 15-inch ADS.
So now
it was
that's a
collapsed
12.
And made it into a 12-inch RCP.
So they changed the pipe going from the site to a 12,
Correct.
except the site going into the 12, yeah, I guess if the 12's too small on the roadway, it's,
It's fine. I mean, that I can tell you, it's fine, as long as it doesn't go uphill. But I can't tell you if it goes uphill because I can't get in there. That's my issue.
Okay.
You know, there's covers in here that we can't get to, you know, and access because they're paved over. But the two main ones are the two in the road that are of my concern.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, the covers, some of the covers are paved over, they're not getting any flow, so it's hard to assess the curving's not in, you're getting, you know, I probably shouldn't say this, but you're getting some runoff off the pavement into the landscaped areas now, because, you know, it's not constructed, so. So it's, you know, you can't even evaluate the system from that point of view. But,
All right, well, I think you know where we stand.
yeah, I mean, if you can put us on for the 11th, we'll see what we can do.
All right, we will.
And if we need to get a continuance.
You don't even, yeah,
No, we'll
it's
just
not
put
a
you on.
public hearing, so you
We'll let Ray
don't
know.
make it, you don't make it.
Yep.
Yep,
We'll go from there.
all right, thank
All
you,
right,
appreciate
thank
it.
All right.
Sure you don't want to stay for Soci? John says he's got somewhere to go anyway.
I gotta go back to work.
Yeah.
I got a lot to do in 3 weeks now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
All right, so 16, 18. 16, 18, we have a site plan to endorse and an ANR plan to endorse. Has anybody given a look-see at these to see if they
I did.
match?
They look good.
Good?
I thought I'd give you guys the opportunity to review an A&R just for fun.
don't you have the right to sign those anyway?
I normally do, but since we were doing the plan, the site plan, we just keep them together.
Yeah, since they're the same spot.
Good night, thank you.
No,
Yep.
thanks.
You don't need me.
I think we're good. I think it's gonna be much smoother than the
Yeah,
last
right.
one.
Hammery.
So,
You're mean to him.
do you want to walk us through the A and R, Ray, first, or do, because these notes are relative to the site plan, is that right? Or is, I don't think these notes are relative to the A and R.
The A&R was pretty straightforward. We were just getting rid of the lot line, so that the two lots are merged together now. And that hasn't changed since the original proposal. What I recall.
It was always proposed to merge them together, meaning?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's nothing complicated about that.
All right. Well, maybe we could get the easy one out of the way and then take some time to review the,
Essentially, all of these comments have been addressed is basically what this letter says.
Right.
yeah. And this is one where he's gonna future build out Lot 11, right?
Yes. And what they would do at that point was put the lot line back and then build out Lot 11.
And they were gonna put a mirror image of the building on it, as I remember.
Yes.
So remind me why we have to join them to then just break them apart?
Because they want to use the section of Lot 11 as outdoor storage. And in order to do that, you have to have a primary use, or so it would have to be merged in order to do it. It seems like a lot of work, but
Yeah, it's really just a vote.
it's effective
Paper.
for them.
Okay. I thought we had landed on a little, oh, the island, we're only seeing half of it here. I see, because he's not showing the existing drive. Never mind. So I'm looking at page number 3 of the plans.
Oh, we'll see if that's done. Take care of it.
And this section here is the start of an island, right, that continues,
Right.
from what I remember,
Yep.
to go around like this.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's another driveway here.
Yep.
So he's just not showing us the existing driveway, just was trying to
On
remember
this
that
drawing, anyway.
properly, right?
Yeah, it looks like it got,
Remembering that
Yep.
correctly? Okay.
Here it is, here, shoot,
Lumen.
teardrop type.
Yep.
Michelle, the copy that I have on sheet 3 of 13,
3, yeah?
there's a very faint ghost of the lines.
Yeah. And then we found it on 8 of 13 on the photometrics plan.
Okay.
So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Does this have a landscaping plan in it? Did I miss it?
There's landscaping there. I think there's 1 or 2 trees.
I thought we had talked about some more shrubbery in that
Yeah, I
island.
think we did. That was added.
Maybe it's showing it on, is this
You've
a
got
site
2
plan?
street trees on sheet 3.
Yeah, same, okay, the SMs.
Yeah.
Actually, there's 3, I think. There's another one buried down.
Yep, I see the third one. My copy's really awful.
Yeah, mine is too. And then
And then there's
where
a,
it's missing the rest of that teardrop island, that's all landscaping, those dots are landscaping?
Yes.
The SIs and SMs and
Yeah.
GYs?
yep.
Okay. Yeah, it wasn't a lot, but,
It was something, anyway.
yeah.
Dress it up a little. It shouldn't.
Number 3 is what we were on. Does it have the landscape legend on it? I don't see it. In calculations. Oh, he has it down in the planting calculations notes. So SM is sugar maple. That's it. It's the only one I see.
Oh, on that planting schedule, yeah. I see it, yeah.
Where is it?
Page 5.
Okay, thank you. Aha. So sugar maples for street trees seem okay. there was no signage on this, is that correct? No new signage. I don't think there was. Except for maybe a stop sign, I think he had talked about.
Is the island separating one way in, one way out?
Yes. That was the idea.
So the people that are going into lot, let's just call it 12 for now, they have to come now up into lot 11 and then down into lot 12, over where the parking is?
Yeah, so they'd come in here, drive along here, and then just turn into the parking lot that's gonna be down in front of that building. So it basically becomes a wide driveway here.
Island in the middle?
Yep, so it just is a wide driveway they're driving down. To read our waivers, I gotta go on that sheet. We put all the waivers on page 10. Is that normal to put the decision on the plans? The decision on there. It's kinda nice. Hard to read.
Can't read anything at my stage.
Oh, you can't even read that on there. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it really bleeds together.
Just bought a timeshare.
What?
Those folks need to get something notarized.
All right.
I guess they were buying a timeshare. So I misinterpreted that as Rick and I were getting a timeshare.
Who's not
This is great.
Wishful thinking. So this is super minor and picky, but when you get, they actually put the decision on the plans, which is kind of a nice thing. But because of either the font he used or his line weight, certain lines are illegible. And so I wonder, maybe the stuff you can read, it's like this double, he uses weird font. But, so, it's one thing to endorse it, but if you can't read what it says, it's probably not the best thing.
We don't have a separate paper decision?
Michelle's gonna let you have it.
Do we have an 8.5 by 11 decision?
Rather than sign this? I'm not being
Michelle's
nice.
gonna let you have
No,
it.
I like the idea that you put the decision on this, it's nice, but there's certain, it's either the font or the line type or something that makes that illegible. Okay, maybe it was the line
Some
weight in
cases-
that particular color. Some of them you just can't read.
Do you have an 8.5 by 11 decision?
Yeah, decision's been done, recorded.
So not as important.
Doesn't matter
We
then.
haven't signed.
I mean, these were taken from a Word
As a
document.
matter of fact, on the registry, they don't even record those pages of Mylar, they only record the first few pages.
So
So
we
they,
only have to record the
Yeah.
layout
yeah,
sheet.
so those are just gonna be, inconsequential.
Rather than us having to read it.
No, the decision's already taken care of separately.
Decision's gonna get recorded with sheet 3, I think it is, and the A&R plan. And then we have
What's he doing back here?
I didn't have to go back.
What's he doing back here?
That's nice.
that.
Go ahead again.
That came from the zoning board.
Oh, I see. Give
So
the
it's-
zoning board special treatment, but the planning board gets all mishy-mashy.
This is true. It's how the documents come in, because they're all Word documents.
It's harder to
That
read and
came from the
understand.
zoning board. Look at the text type is fine, the size,
Look at
and
this
then you
wacky
get,
font. It's like a double line and stuff. It's so fancy, Shanice.
then you got, they're all different. But they're all from Betsy. I mean, Betsy emailed these all to us, and we import the Word document and Ken.
We'll work on
And
that.
Amy did the same thing, and I'm not blaming them, I'm just saying it drives me
So
mad.
I advise when you get the Word document, highlight everything, change it to Arial before you put it into CAD.
It's Calibri. Maybe I should have made it bigger.
We're not really ready for calibri.
You mean calligraphy?
Comic Sans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time to do Roman is the
Like
best
Gothic
way.
or something.
Can we just do it all on wingdings? So,
Oh, God.
I only speak emoticon.
16, and I don't need my glasses.
This one's got a happy face on it, that means it's approved. Oh, it's got emoticons
I know.
all over it.
On the plan?
All right, let's take
Good job.
to endorse.
Oh, yeah.
the
I planned it that way.
every other weekend, St. John's, right?
Motion to endorse.
I'll do it.
I'm allowed to.
You want a motion to endorse the 1618 Sharon Ave A&R plan?
Second.
Anyone? All
Second.
those in favor?
Aye.
Want to do it again? You did so good. Sure. Motion to approve 1618 Sharon Ave A&A Sochi site plan. We have a second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Alrighty. Did you guys talk about 40Bs before I came?
Nope.
Do you
No,
want to
but
talk
Ray-
about 40Bs?
Ray sent out- did
I
you
sent
see-
stuff out, and I got
see that?
copies somewhere.
Yeah, I did see it.
Walter did an awesome job. I tweaked it.
Here it is.
This is just a sort of an update of where we are right now.
State of the Union.
I did, and I figured some of you
Is that
might look
the,
at it, but some of you
Kelly
might
property
not
across the
on their
track, yeah.
iPhones.
It's underway?
It's too small.
Well, no, but the sequence is, we think, the way they are going to get underway.
I see. Is this for everybody?
Certainly
Yeah,
in the
this one for
pipeline,
everybody.
right?
Yes.
This is the same thing.
Yep.
Nice. So you think Seekonk will come after Lawrence?
It's a guess. Well, Seekonk hasn't even gotten letter of eligibility at this point.
Has Lawrence?
Lawrence has,
It has.
yes.
I didn't know that.
And Rockwood Road, 25 Rockwood Road is before the zoning board tomorrow night, so they're opening the public hearing on that
Oh,
one.
boy.
And the Enclave, we could probably switch 4 and 5, because the Enclave has not come before the zoning board yet.
Oh,
Okay.
really? I thought that was much further ahead.
Hmm.
So again, where does this bring us total affordable to where we need to be? There it is. Gives
Yeah,
us
it's right there, yep.
121.
But the
to
311 is a
311.
moving number as well, because the number of regular houses that we build goes up, so the denominator.
It'll be 10
keeps-
years. So 2020, we'll do the census again, the numbers will change, so the mark will move up again in 2020.
Current
Oh, so
census.
it's good for 10 years is what you're saying?
Yeah.
That I didn't know before.
Yeah.
Well, of these 480 new units, we need
2020 is just a few
48
years
more
away.
just to keep up, right?
Yes.
It's not for 10 years, it's right now, right?
We should try to keep up, yeah, that's important to do.
Yeah. So what's the housing base number that we had to put this 311 against?
Well, it's 3,112.
This is 10%.
3112?
Yes,
Okay. Yep.
so that's 10%.
It's a, yeah,
Right, right,
so
I see.
basically of this bottom line, we are still gonna need 48 more units once we've got this extra 177.
Yeah,
No, we'd only need 12 more.
well, I think,
If
Well,
we
when
bring
you-
up
when
to
you-
298,
Well, every time
298,
you
yeah.
create a project, the first 10% of the project is just keeping up with
yeah,
the current
I
level.
see what you're saying.
Right.
yeah, now,
Because in
our
2020,
affordable
when they
housing
add the
trust is also building units and bringing other units online.
it'd be 35.
Between that, the work that they're doing and these 40Bs, in the next couple of years, we should be right to the point where we're meeting the 10%.
When? I missed that,
In
I'm
the next
sorry.
couple of years, we should be able to meet the 10% with the work that the Affordable Housing Trust has been doing, as well as these 40Bs.
Including whatever other normal houses are built around there that changes the denominator, right?
Correct.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, in 2020, when we do the new census, that doesn't come out until a couple of years after, so we'll have a little bit of time.
You know what the idea is, Walter? From what, excuse me, Sue Jacobson said, if we need 2 units to make our 10%, and we get hit with a 200-unit project, you can't say we're just gonna take 2. The whole project comes in.
Right.
Mhm.
It leaves the door open.
Yeah.
The door
One
is always
unit
open.
is short, leaves it open for any
Yeah.
size
So if we're
project.
down by 2, it's in our best interest to partner with the developer, or for the town to develop something, or to do something to get those 2 more units, I would think, right?
Now, we are working on, we're hiring a consultant to write an affordable housing production plan, which helps us in
I
kind of
recently learned that. If you
figuring
have
out
a
where we
plan
need
in
to-
place, then doesn't that also give you certain credibility with the
As
40B
long
rule?
as long as you're meeting the incremental steps year by year
Yeah.
in the plan,
Which-
which is what happened to our last plan. We couldn't meet the steps, so the plan wasn't worth the paper it was written on.
But with what we have going on now, the curve's gonna be going up drastically,
That's
I
true,
would think.
that's true. yeah.
Do they
It's a
have
different
to all
landscape, I would
be
think, now compared to then.
built before they count or just approved?
That's a good question. I got a lesson in that in the last month, because the state counts you, if you, let's take the latest one, 25 Rockwood Road, and just say that one is going to be approved in the next 6 months. So when that one gets approved, we take the decision, we forward that to the state. The state puts that on the SHI, which is the state 10% list, for lack of a better term. Within a year, you need to have building permits issued, or that can fall off. Within 2 years, after the building permits are issued, or another year, it's another year, you have to have occupancy, or they could fall off. Now, how that all happens is still a mystery to me, because I'm not sure there's somebody minding the store as well as you might think they are.
Yeah.
So, from what I understand, once they go on, you do have a year to get your building permit in, but that might be a little more
They
flexible.
probably wouldn't mind the
Now,
store until someone challenged them, and then they'd go back and look at all the numbers.
And that's exactly the situation that happens, so somebody challenges the town, someone comes in with a 40B, the zoning board sits here and says, we don't have to take your 40B application, because we've, what's the term? I just lost it, just drew a blank.
Yeah,
But we don't have to take your 40B because we have safe harbor.
right.
And so somebody could go back to Mass Housing, ask them, okay, let's see the inventory for Norfolk. And if we're 1 unit off, we don't have safe harbor.
Gotcha.
So we're gonna make darn well sure that we have safe harbor.
And when you have safe harbor, future projects can go through and get all permits. And the year that you lose your safe harbor, that approved project kicks into gear.
Yeah,
The hope is if you let this project sit for a number of years while you're waiting to be started,
yeah,
there may be a change in the economy or funding or something
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
you know?
yeah.
But they can have them all approved and just have them sit there and waiting, so to speak.
Right.
So you really have to get right up to the number, and there's no easy way around it.
So that's where we are, that's what's going on with 40B at this point.
Thank you for doing that, Walter.
Yeah, this is helpful. How do we measure up with surrounding towns in terms of the number? Is this pretty standard right now? Or is this pretty high for?
I think Franklin has it, don't they, Ray?
Franklin was at 10%. They did have a development that fell off. They had a 30-year deed restriction on it, and it passed the 30 years, so it fell off. So now they're scrambling to get back up to 10%. Rentham's had a few different development proposals that came in the last year, which, if they all get built, will bring them up past their 10% requirement. Foxborough, I don't know about, but generally speaking, I think we're all kind of in the same boat, more or less.
Medfield?
Medfield, I think they're in the same situation. Medfield just had a 200-unit affordable housing project denied by Mass Housing because it was just too big. 5-story building.
Of
and
opposition in town about
Wow.
that.
It was a 5-story building.
Five-story? Wow.
It was an apartment.
And basically, single-family residential area, and it was really tight.
Sounds like it.
It was just way out of character, and thank God they agreed with the residents and the town.
Yeah.
There was a big effort on that one, you could.
Yeah, it was
in
all
the
over town. All over
The signs were everywhere.
Yeah.
No 200 units.
Yeah.
Someone gave me the decision, it was a 10-page, letter from the town, so usually we'll do a 1 or 2 page, maybe a 3-page letter, on 40Bs, and they did a 10-pager.
You can start cranking out some 10 pagers.
Well, you
So,
got, now
yeah.
you got a template anyway, right?
There's a lot of discontent.
Yeah, that
It was,
is, yeah.
On that one.
A lot of things that just weren't right in that one.
Find, replace.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds like we have another agenda item 2 for a public hearing that we need to schedule. Is that going to be on our agenda next in April?
Yeah,
Town meeting zoning articles?
I did write up, only because this came up, and it was something that's sort of been nagging, and it has to do with, I'm looking for my pieces of paper. Has to do with, what can I do with daycare facilities? And it's just one of these funny things where you assume that daycare facilities would be sort of common anywhere, particularly in our zoning. You would think that would be spelled out. And we've taken great pains to identify daycare facilities, and we did some zoning changes a few years ago. But what we did miss was that in the B1, the C1, and the C6, it's not defined. It's not defined as an allowed use. It's not defined as anything. It's missing.
So does that mean it's not allowed?
It's not allowed.
Not allowed.
And I think it was just an oversight. So I've had a number of different inquiries about daycare facilities, and we're trying to manage and sort of work with the applicant. But when push came to shove, they all went away. But
They would have had to go for a zoning variance?
Yeah. So we decided it was probably a good idea to allow daycare facilities in the B1, the C1, and the C6.
Makes sense, yeah.
So that's what the zoning proposal is. I don't think it's going to make too much wave, but it just opens up that need, and there really is a need for daycare these days.
Okay.
You caught up with the zoning change from the last town meeting where they, on the floor, they did allow that, what is it,
Camden?
C, yeah, C,
Camden?
what's the C district down there?
Yep.
Going out towards Franklin.
C4, I
Yeah.
think. Actually, it's on that map right behind
Yeah.
Greg. I can't see from
So
here.
they changed it,
It's that little red dot to
increased
the
the
left there.
existing
C3.
C4 to be a little bit
Yeah, that
bigger?
guy, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
C3 right there.
C3?
They did expand that
Yeah.
Yeah.
on the town floor.
And the
Because
zoning map
John
was
didn't-
approved.
John wasn't there that night, that was why.
Think so?
I think you might have voted with them.
Think I could have swayed them?
I think you
Typically,
voted
you
with
blame-
them.
typically you blame the guy that's not there.
That's right.
Or you give him another job.
I tried my hardest. I didn't do a very good job that night.
Yeah, so the AG's office has approved all the zoning changes that happened 2 weeks ago, I think it was.
So that's the only article that we'd be looking
That would
at
be
for
it,
the
yeah.
town
There is a
meeting?
noise bylaw that was proposed by petition, and I'm not sure that's going to be within zoning. It would be more of a, I think, a town bylaw, but I'm not sure where
Like
they're proposing to
to
put
a
it.
certain decibel or something?
Yeah.
Do you think they're
For-
targeting the car wash?
No, I
Oh.
think it's run and gun ranches.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. When is town meeting? What are the dates? Do we know?
I don't know.
May
Yeah.
5th, I think.
I'm not sure they said it.
It is, no, they
You got
did.
the
It's
date?
that first Tuesday.
I don't have it on my calendar yet.
Hmm?
I
May
don't have it on my
9th.
calendar. You have it?
It's the 9th.
Is that a Tuesday?
Yep. It's the second Tuesday.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that is it. Change our.
Do we have any other correspondence, new business items to discuss while we're live?
We have, don't we have, I'm sorry, excuse me. Going back to the town meeting, don't we have a planning board meeting on the calendar for that night?
Not anymore.
No, that's my point.
That's our our normal meeting night.
You've been bumped.
Yeah, so we need to reschedule that one, right?
Yeah, we'll probably make it the following week.
Yeah, I would guess, right.
We can do that at our next meeting. And we'll also have had elections happen by then, so we'll be welcoming some new folks.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
John and I might be replaced.
Yeah, I read there's 4 candidates for
4.
2 seats.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
Very
impressive. We normally do a changing of the guard for leadership as well after the May elections, so we'll be thinking about that in terms of roles and responsibilities. All right, well, so for tonight, shall we say goodnight to the folks at home?
Good night.
All right, we're all set. Thank you very much.
Motion to adjourn?
Oh, yeah, that too.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.